6th century before Christ. The most recent version, the sacerdotal version of the Bible, is the work of the priest of the 6th century before Christ. It contains the lengthy narrative of the creation placed at the beginning of all the copies of the Bible. Christianity naturally took up the idea of creation and repeated the biblical teachings concerning the origin of man, without offering more details on this issue than those contained in the Old Testament. Nevertheless, there is an exception for the genealogies of Jesus, especially in the Gospel of Luke, tracing back to Adam and showing Jesus preceded by 76 generations of human beings, which today is untenable. The Quranic revelation considerably enriched man with data about himself, as it did otherwise for all the works of God concerning the creation and organization of the inanimate world as well as the living world. Thus, during many centuries, on the question of the origins, human mind in the West fed itself, if I may say so, on biblical teachings, whereas in the Islamic world, the Qur'an, in the meantime, brought not only the general idea of the creation common to the three monotheistic religions, but also further teachings concerning man himself, new teachings, since non-existent in the Bible, and to which I will refer later. The next stage is when, during the 18th century of the Christian era, science registered its initial major progress. As soon as man came to possess scientific knowledge, even rudimentary and really insufficient to arrive at a formal conclusion, this, nevertheless, led him to develop various speculations. The error of most of the scientists in their way of reasoning lies in the fact that they strictly apply to the case of man the findings which have not even a definitive significance for the animal kingdom. They did it from pure analogy. This fault in the drawing of conclusion explain what will follow, jointly with their fondness for ideologies. Thus the philosophers did not hesitate to construct theories which were founded on very fragile bases. This is also observed today. In the West, the 19th century was the time of the first disputes with the religious teachings, essentially with those of the Bible, particularly bearing on the fixity of the species through the ages, clearly formulated in the Old Testament. Lamarck, introducing his theory of transformism at the beginning of the 19th century, was the first contender of the biblical statement about the fixity of the species. But it was above all Darwin, in the second half of the 19th century, who dealt a severe blow to the biblical data with his theory of natural selection, supported in his book on the origin of species, which appeared in 1859. Darwin had supposed that nature was spontaneously able to bring forth living beings like those whose appearance may be favored by cattle or horse breeders through selected interbreedings. In his reasoning, Darwin forgot that these breeders cannot produce animals of a species different from the species of the parents. Darwin was right when he said that he had observed variation within the species he met in his trip through the oceans on board of the famous ship, the Beagle. But these variations were observed in animals belonging to the same species. At no time did he find a change in a species which resulted in the formation of a new species. In order to explain evolution in the animal kingdom, we need to know what gives rise to the transformation of one species, of one order, etc., into another. Darwin himself, in a letter preserved at the British Library, London, a letter whose I possess photocopy, Darwin had stated quite clearly that he was aware of having failed to explain evolution. I quote Darwin, "But I believe in natural selection not because I can prove in any single case that it has changed one species into another, but because it groups and explains well, as it seems to me," said Darwin, "a host of facts in classification, embryology, morphology, rudimentary organs, geological succession, and distribution." Unquote. In this way, Darwin confesses that evolution cannot be explained by his theory. All the problems of value of the work of Darwin lies right there. The centenary of Darwin's death was commemorated in 1982 by a host of apologetic pronouncements, absolutely out of keeping with the importance of his work in the history of natural sciences. In my book, What is the Origin of Man? The Answers of Science and the Holy Scriptures, I have shown the deficiency of Darwin's theory and the misuse made of it by contemporary commentators of his work. Today, the existence of evolution in the animal kingdom is perfectly demonstrated. The evidence has been given in innumerable cases, with many details concerning the transformations in the course of time, for example, from the reptilians to the mammals. But Darwin never proved that man descends from ape. Moreover, he did not ever write it. His followers, among them Haeckel, in 1869, claims this without the tiniest argument, for no link has ever been formed between human and animal lineages. We shall come back later to this point. Supporters of modern theories like neo-Darwinism or the synthetic theory of evolution do their best in order to combine the far-fetched obsolete data of the idol with genuine findings of our knowledge. But in no way do they bring together all facets of the problems in their reasoning. They draw conclusions from certain aspects taken from data collected in laboratories where present-day microorganisms are studied, without taking account of the concrete facts of past events. That is to say, the documents provided by paleontology, that is to say, study of fossils, and corroborated by other disciplines such as zoology, embryology, comparative anatomy, genetics, cellular and molecular biology, etc. In fact, we observe the birth of theories supported by scholars who describe